And a Filipino senator who oversaw former President Rodrigo Duterte's deadly war on drugs has taken refuge inside the country's Senate hours before the International Criminal Court unsealed a warrant for his arrest. Ronald de la Rosa was pictured fleeing into the Senate on Monday as officers chased after him. He narrowly escaped and was placed under protective custody.
That. Accused of neo-colonial meddling in many African countries where it has traditionally had close ties, France is broadening its horizons by co-hosting a summit of African leaders in English-speaking Kenya for the first time. Speaking at the Africa Forward Summit in the capital Nairobi on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron announced investments worth 27 billion, at least 20 billion, in Africa in areas such as energy transition, digital and AI, the maritime economy and agriculture.
And as the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz drives the worst energy crunch in modern history, leading governments to scramble to unload their emergency oil stockpiles, developing countries are among the least prepared to mitigate the shock. Although surging fuel prices due to the fallout of the US-Israel war on Iran have impacted most of the world, import-reliant poorer countries are among the worst affected and the most lacking in energy reserves to cushion the blow. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 35 points as the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder advanced to the NBA Western Conference Finals with a 115-110 victory over the Lakers on Monday, and completing a 4-game sweep in what potentially was LeBron James's final game for Los Angeles. Ajay Mitchell logged 28 points, and Chet Holmgren produced 16 points and 9 rebounds, and Jared McCain added 13 points as the Thunder improved to 8-0 in the playoffs. And Oklahoma City is set to face the Minnesota Timberwolves or the San Antonio Spurs in the next round.
That. Authorities in Malaysia have launched a search and rescue mission for missing people after a boat carrying 37 undocumented migrants sank off its western coast. In a statement on Tuesday, the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, MMEA, in the state of Perak said local fishermen have rescued 23 people so far, while 14 others are believed to be missing.
And tensions between the United States and Iran remain high, as Tehran warned it was prepared to respond to any aggression after US President Donald Trump said the fragile ceasefire was on massive life support. Trump on Monday rejected Iran's latest response to his peace proposal, calling it stupid.
That. Eurovision, the annual international music pageant watched and adored by millions of viewers around the world, begins this week despite boycotts over Israel's participation. The televised final round of the music contest is scheduled to take place on May 16 in Austria's capital, Vienna, this year, and will mark Eurovision's 70th anniversary. That. Major private school associations across Pakistan have rejected the Punjab government's decision to announce summer vacations to August 23 for educational institutions. Representatives of the associations termed the nearly 3-month break harmful for the education system and announced plans to challenge the decision in the Lahore High Court, including its Rawalpindi, Multan and Bahawalpur benches. That. OpenAI has launched a new cybersecurity tool called Daybreak, which directly rivals Anthropic and its Project Glasswing cybersecurity efforts. According to OpenAI, Daybreak uses several of the company's AI models, including a specialized security agent called Codex Security.
And the Ministry of IT and Telecom is preparing to launch Aerofusion 2026, a national hackathon focused on aerospace, aviation and emerging technologies. The event will be hosted by the National Incubation Center for Aerospace Technologies, NICAT, and aims to bring together students, researchers, innovators and industry professionals to solve real-world aerospace and deep tech challenges. And the Balochistan Assembly on Monday adopted 2 resolutions aimed at reducing taxes on women's hygiene products and strengthening minority representation at provincial and local levels. The resolution on women's hygiene products was jointly moved by GUIF female lawmakers, including Ms. Shahida Rauf, Yume Kulsum, Reman Balok and Kaya Balok.
That. The Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB, announced the complete schedule for the President's Trophy Grade 2 Gold 2025-26, which will be played from May 12 to June 21 across Abbottabad, Haripur, Islamabad and Rawalpindi. According to the PCB, the tournament will serve as the qualification pathway for the first President's Trophy Grade I and the List A President's Cup. For the first time, the President's Trophy Grade 2 has been divided into two tiers, gold and silver. That. A Chinese company said on Monday it had severely punished multiple executives after being rebuked by authorities over an advert joking about infidelity, a demonstration of official sensitivity around declining marriage rates and shifting social mores. China is facing a demographic crisis after its birth rate halved over the past decade. And in response, authorities have heavily promoted traditional family structures.
And Lakai Mawat, 7 people, including 2 policemen, were martyred on Tuesday in a suicide blast in the Serai Naurang Tehsil of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Laki Mawat district. Police said Laki Mawat district police officer's spokesperson Kudratullah Khan, in a statement, said that at least 23 others were injured after the suicide bomber detonated his explosive-laden 3-wheeler loader rickshaw at the Patak Chowk in Naurang Bazaar, located along the GT road.
That. Greg Abbott was planning his summer holiday with half an eye on the Iran war. He intended to stay closer to home in Europe and was lining up a plan B, wary of rising airfares and cancellations. The 54-year-old Britain-based Australian was planning a cycling trip with friends in Austria, a festival in Barcelona, and possibly a yoga retreat in France. But he did not want to go too far and was keeping travel options open.
And Israeli legislators have approved a bill to establish a special tribunal with the power to impose the death penalty on Palestinians accused of involvement in the Hamas-led attacks of October 7, 2023. The bill passed 93-0 in Israel's 120-seat parliament, the Knesset, late on Monday.
That the United States has announced its latest release of emergency oil stockpiles in coordination with the International Energy Agency, IEA. The U.S. Department of Energy said on Monday that it had begun transferring 53.3 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve after awarding contracts to 9 companies under its Emergency Exchange Program. That the public broadcasters for Spain, Ireland and Slovenia said on Monday they will not show the 70th anniversary Eurovision Song Contest this week as they boycott the TV extravaganza over Israel's participation. The 3 countries, along with the Netherlands and Iceland, pulled out of this year's event in Vienna, which kicks off on Tuesday and culminates in Saturday's grand final.
And ever felt like mosquitoes bite you while ignoring everyone else? Scientists are now making progress in deciphering the complex chemical cocktail that makes particular people more enticing to these disease-spreading bloodsuckers. It's not a misconception. Mosquitoes are attracted to some people more than others. Frédéric Simard of France's Institute of Research for Development told AFP. And Israel's parliament passed a law late on Monday establishing a military tribunal to try hundreds of Palestinian fighters linked to the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. The surprise attack, led by elite Nukba force fighters from the Palestinian group Hamas, killed at least 2,200 people. The fighters also took 251 hostages back to Gaza. And Thinking Machines Lab, the AI startup founded last year by former OpenAI CTO Mira Murati, on Monday announced something called interaction models, which at its essence sounds like AI that can interrupt you. Right now, every AI model you've ever used works the same way. You talk, it listens. It responds, you listen. Thinking Machines is trying to change that by building a model that processes your input and generates a response at the same time, so it's more like a phone call than a text chain.
That President Asif Ali Zardari has directed the government to use all possible measures to reduce the impact of inflation on the public, as rising fuel prices and regional tensions add fresh pressure on Pakistan's economy. The directive came during a meeting with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif at Aiwan-e Sada, where senior officials, including Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, National Assembly Speaker Ayaz Satik, Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi, and Law Minister Azam Nazir Tara, were also present.
And the Foreign Office foe on Tuesday termed a report by an American media outlet claiming that Islamabad had allowed Iranian military aircraft to park on its airfields while playing the role of a mediator in the Middle East conflict as misleading and sensationalized. And citing US officials, CBS News had reported that Pakistan quietly allowed Iranian military aircraft to park on its airfields. The report alleged that days after US President Trump announced the ceasefire with Iran in early April, and Tehran sent multiple aircraft to the Nur Khan airbase.
On note, this report contains details of sexual assault and violence. Hamas militants and their allies raped, assaulted and sexually tortured their victims during and after the October 7, 2023 terror attack on southern Israel to maximize pain and suffering. A landmark new report has concluded.
And a Russian cargo ship likely carrying 2 nuclear reactors for submarines, possibly destined for North Korea, suffered a series of explosions and sank in unexplained circumstances about 60 miles off the coast of Spain, and a CNN investigation has found. The extraordinary fate of the Ursa Major has been shrouded in secrecy since it sank on December 23rd, 2024. But it may mark a rare and high-stakes intervention by a Western military to prevent Russia from sending an upgrade in nuclear technology to a key ally, North Korea, CNN reporting suggests. And the ship set sail just 2 months after Kim Jong-un had sent troops to assist with Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. And a Bolivian judge has found former President Evo Morales in contempt of court and reissued a warrant for his arrest after he failed to turn up for the start of his trial on charges of trafficking a minor. The ruling on Monday renewed tensions in the South American country, with supporters of Morales warning they would throw the country into turmoil if the former leader is arrested.
The former mayor of a wealthy suburb in the United States city of Los Angeles has admitted to acting as an illegal agent of China, according to authorities. Eileen Wang, the former mayor of Arcadia, agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of acting as an illegal agent of a foreign government from late 2020 until 2022, the U.S. Department of Justice said on Monday.
And Pakistan has assured the International Monetary Fund that it will strengthen interagency data sharing and tighten oversight of trade-based transactions after an inquiry found that nearly Rs. and 70 billion may have been laundered through over-invoiced solar panel imports. And Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has set up a supervisory committee to monitor disciplinary action against officials accused of failing to detect and stop the alleged scheme, according to a government notification. And the International Monetary Fund has asked Pakistan to strengthen anti-money laundering controls in the real estate sector, improve beneficial ownership disclosures, and step up efforts to detect trade-based money laundering as part of its latest review of the country's reform program. The push came as the IMF approved the release of the next $1.1 billion tranche for Pakistan under the Extended Fund Facility. And Quetta. The Balochistan Assembly on Monday adopted 2 resolutions on reducing taxes on women's hygiene and sanitary products and to strengthen minority representation at provincial and local levels. The resolution, jointly moved by JUEF female members Ms. Shahida Rauf Ume Kulsum, Reman Balok and Kaya Balok, demanded the federal government to reduce taxes on women's health and hygiene products, which are available at high prices.